Good morning. We often take for granted the delicate balance of our world, the predictable rhythm of our days. But every so often, nature reminds us of its immense power, its capacity to disrupt and transform in the blink of an eye. Sometimes, nature's power is both beautiful and terrifying. The swirling clouds, the electric flashes, the sheer force of the wind, it's a spectacle that can inspire awe and dread in equal measure. On a seemingly ordinary summer evening in central New York, the sky began to stage a dramatic shift. The sun, which had been shining brightly just moments before, was gradually obscured by an advancing wall of dark clouds. As the darkness deepened, the wind began to pick up, rustling leaves and bending branches with increasing intensity. It roared, a primal warning that something serious, something beyond the ordinary, was rapidly approaching. The air crackled with an unseen energy. Sensing the impending danger, people rushed inside, abandoning their evening strolls and outdoor activities. A sense of urgency filled the air as the storm drew closer. They began securing their homes, double-checking windows and doors, bringing in anything that might be swept away by the wind. Every action was deliberate, fueled by a growing sense of unease. They were bracing for more than just a typical thunderstorm, something far more powerful and destructive. The weather alerts blared from radios and phones, painting a grim picture of what was to come. Then the sky opened up and rain fell in blinding sheets, a torrential downpour that seemed to erase the world beyond the windows. The drainage systems were quickly overwhelmed, and streets began flooding within minutes, transforming familiar roads into raging rivers. Cars became stranded, their headlights cutting futilely through the deluge. The wind intensified, howling like a banshee as it bent ancient trees at impossible angles, threatening to uproot them entirely. Branches and debris were ripped from their moorings, becoming dangerous projectiles flying through the air. The storm was a chaotic ballet of destruction. Inside, the noise was deafening, a cacophony of natural fury that drowned out all other sounds. It was a relentless assault of wind, pushing against walls and rattling windows with ferocious power. Rain, driven by the gale-force winds, pounded against the windows, creating a constant drumming that added to the sense of siege. And breaking wood, as trees succumbed to the relentless pressure, their limbs snapping and crashing to the ground. The storm was a stark and brutal reminder of how quickly life can change, how vulnerable we are in the face of nature's raw power. One moment, families were enjoying a quiet evening, sharing meals, laughing, and making plans for the future. The next, they were plunged into darkness, huddled together, hoping for safety, and anxiously waiting for the storm to pass. Power outages swept through neighborhoods with alarming speed, as the wind tore down power lines and transformers exploded in showers of sparks. The darkness was absolute, leaving thousands in eerie silence, a silence that was almost as unsettling as the storm itself. The silence was broken only by the deafening cracks of thunder and the blinding flashes of lightning, which illuminated the ravaged landscape in fleeting, ghostly glimpses. When the storm finally passed, its fury spent, leaving behind a trail of destruction and despair. An unsettling quiet settled over the region, a silence that spoke volumes about the devastation that had just occurred. People cautiously stepped outside to face the devastation, a scene of widespread destruction that was almost incomprehensible. Roads were blocked by fallen trees, their roots torn from the earth, their massive trunks lying across the asphalt like fallen giants. Downed power lines snaked across the ground, sparking and hissing, a constant reminder of the danger that still lingered. Homes were damaged, some with roofs torn off, others with windows shattered, their interiors exposed to the elements. But the true cost of the storm wasn't just in property damage and material losses. The storm had tragically claimed lives, leaving behind grieving families and a community in mourning. The community was left in shock and sorrow, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of the loss and the suddenness of the tragedy. The calm after the storm was heavy with grief, a palpable sense of loss that hung in the air like a shroud. As the initial shock began to subside, everyone realized the long and difficult road to recovery that they now faced together, a journey that would require resilience, compassion, and unwavering support for one another. In the wake of such widespread devastation, amidst the chaos of downed power lines and uprooted trees, an even more heartbreaking reality began to emerge. As emergency responders and news crews sifted through the wreckage, the weight of the storm's impact grew heavier with each passing hour. The unthinkable had happened. 3 lives were tragically lost to the storm's fury. The news spread quickly, casting a pall over the already reeling community. These weren't just statistics, nameless victims in a news report. The victims weren't strangers. They were woven into the fabric of the town. They were neighbors, the people you waved to on your morning walk. They were friends, sharing laughter and stories over backyard fences. They were family, the bedrock of homes and hearts. Two of the lives lost were those of young sisters, just children, their whole futures ahead of them, now tragically cut short. Their laughter would no longer echo through the neighborhood. And the third, a beloved woman, a pillar of the community, known for her warm smile and generous spirit. She was known for her kindness, her willingness to lend a hand, her unwavering support for those around her. All three were in places they thought were safe, within the walls of their own homes, seeking shelter from the storm's wrath. But fate, in its cruelest form, intervened when the storm struck with unexpected and devastating force. The randomness of it all was impossible to comprehend, a senseless tragedy that defied logic and reason. Why them? Why now? The questions hung heavy in the air, unanswered and unanswerable. Each was killed by falling trees, ancient giants uprooted by the storm's relentless power. It was a cruel twist from something usually seen as strong and life-giving, symbols of nature's beauty and resilience, now turned into instruments of destruction. The community struggled to process the enormity of the loss, grappling with the shock and disbelief. How could such ordinary things, the trees that lined their streets and shaded their homes, cause such extraordinary pain? Shock turned to deep collective grief, a shared sorrow that bound the community together in its darkest hour. Even those who didn't know the victims felt the loss, a sense of shared vulnerability and the fragility of life. The tragedy was personal for everyone, a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of fate and the preciousness of each moment. It was a wound felt across central New York, a collective heartbreak that resonated far beyond the immediate community. The storm had passed, leaving behind a trail of destruction and despair, but it left a scar on the heart of the community, a deep and lasting wound that would take time to heal. The loss was not just 3 lives, it was something more profound. It was the loss of a sense of safety and innocence, the shattering of the illusion that tragedy only happens to other people. The region mourned together, united in sorrow, finding strength in shared grief and a determination to rebuild, not just their homes, but their sense of community. The morning after, devastation was everywhere, but the emotional shock was even greater. People wandered their neighborhoods in silence, surveying the wreckage. The usual sounds of life were replaced by chainsaws and quiet conversations. This was more than cleanup. It was the start of grieving. Smithfield, a close-knit rural town, was forever changed. The storm, a rare macroburst, had shattered the sense of safety. News of the deaths spread quickly, touching everyone. At local shops and schools, people spoke in hushed tones, trying to make sense of the tragedy. It's different when disaster strikes your own backyard. The community was united in shock and vulnerability. For the families, the loss was crushing. For others, there was helplessness. It was the beginning of a long, difficult journey for all. In the quiet town of Smithfield, a tragedy unfolded that would forever alter its landscape. At the heart of this devastating event were 2 sisters, bound by blood and an unbreakable connection. Arisa and Lujane, their names now etched in the town's collective memory, a constant reminder of the precious lives lost. Just 10 and 8 years old, they were on the cusp of childhood, filled with dreams and aspirations that would never come to fruition. They were spending summer with family, a time typically associated with carefree days and joyful memories. Full of life and laughter, their youthful energy infectious to everyone around them. Their bond was inseparable, a testament to the unique connection shared between sisters, a bond that time and distance could never diminish. Their smiles unforgettable, radiating warmth and innocence, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of those who knew them. That night the sky turned ominous. A dark and stormy night descended upon the lakeside camp, foreshadowing the tragedy that was about to unfold. Seeking refuge from the elements, they sought shelter in their family's trailer at a lakeside camp, unaware of the impending danger lurking in the shadows. A massive tree, its roots weakened by the relentless storm and saturated ground, became a deadly weapon in nature's arsenal. With a deafening crash, it crashed down on the trailer, sealing the fate of the 2 young sisters inside. In an instant, their lives were extinguished, their dreams shattered, leaving behind a void that could never be filled. Both girls were gone, their laughter silenced, their potential unrealized. Their parents and siblings survived the devastating ordeal, physically unharmed but emotionally scarred, forever haunted by the memory of that fateful night. But their world was shattered, irrevocably changed by the loss of their beloved daughters and sisters. Losing one child is unimaginable, a pain that no parent should ever have to endure. Losing two is a sorrow beyond words, a burden of grief that threatens to consume everything in its path. Their father remembered their kindness and dreams, clinging to the precious memories as a lifeline in the sea of despair. The community embraced the family, offering unwavering support and compassion in their darkest hour. But nothing could fill the emptiness left by Arisa and Lujane, the silence in their home a constant reminder of their absence. The loss rippled far beyond their home, touching the lives of everyone who knew the family, and even those who didn't. Every parent, every teacher felt it, a shared sense of grief and vulnerability in the face of such senseless tragedy. Arisa and Lujane became symbols, their story a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment, of lost innocence and the fragility of life, their memory serving as a call to action to protect the most vulnerable among us. Their memory is a painful reminder, etched in the hearts of the community, a constant ache that time may soften but never erase, of how quickly everything can change, how precious life is, and how important it is to hold our loved ones close. The community mourned, united in grief and a shared determination to honor the memory of Arisa and Lujane. The promise and joy that was taken too soon, their lives cut short, leaving behind a legacy of love and loss that would forever shape the town of Smithfield. The storm's reach extended to Xiaoyan, a devoted wife and mother. Known for her kindness, she had built a life for her family in this community. As the storm raged, she and her husband tried to move their car to safety. In a split second, a massive tree fell. Xiaoyan was killed instantly, her husband witnessing the tragedy. A selfless act to protect her family ended in unimaginable loss. Her story is a reminder of how quickly disaster can strike. Her family and neighbors were left heartbroken. Xiaoyan's final moments were spent caring for her loved ones, a legacy of love and sacrifice. In the aftermath, the community refused to be broken. Neighbors helped each other clear debris and offered generators to those without power. Churches and local groups organized donations and fundraisers for the grieving families. People from near and far gave what they could, showing support even if they didn't know the victims. Hot meals were delivered, volunteers helped with cleanup, and counselors offered free support. Acts of kindness, big and small, became a lifeline. The outpouring of support helped families through their darkest days. For many, helping was a way to channel grief into something positive. Compassion became the community's greatest strength. Even in tragedy, hope and humanity shone through. Despite the kindness, grief weighed heavily on everyone. For the families, every day was a reminder of their loss. The community shared in the sorrow, mourning futures stolen and lives cut short. Flags were lowered, and memorials brought people together in shared pain. Funerals were filled with tears and memories, honoring the lives lost. The grief lingered long after the news moved on. It became part of daily life, driving past the sights, seeing storm clouds, feeling a pang of sadness. But the weight was shared, and in that, there was strength. The community learned that grief is a journey best traveled together. No one had to face it alone. This tragedy taught a timeless lesson. We need each other. In crisis, our greatest strength is our connection. Supporting one another brings emotional and spiritual strength. For grieving families, knowing they're not alone is a lifeline. For those helping, it's a way to affirm our shared humanity. Community support creates a network that can withstand even the worst. It sends a message you are not forgotten. Solidarity is essential for healing and counters isolation. Together we can rebuild and find hope. Supporting each other is an act of defiance against tragedy. We choose love, kindness, and unity. That's how we find our way back to the light. The storm left devastation and sorrow, but also revealed the community's strength. The loss of Arisa, Lujane, and Xiaoyan will never be forgotten. Yet in the darkness, a powerful light emerged, neighbors helping neighbors, strangers showing compassion. This is a story of pain, but also of resilience. The people of Central New York chose to support one another, turning grief into action. The bonds forged in tragedy will remain long after the scars fade. Acts of kindness and shared tears have created a stronger community. The memory of those lost will be honored in the way people care for each other. Hope remains, for peace, for healing, for growth. Let us cherish our loved ones every day. Let us be the light for others in their darkness. In the end, our love and support for one another will always see us through the storm. That is the legacy of this community's strength.